In the recent episode, Jia, navigating the hospital lobby, unexpectedly crosses paths with Na Young, her former boss. The air was charged with revelations as Jia spilled the entire story of the accident to Na Young, who responded with a friendly smile and an offer to chauffeur Jia wherever she desired. Amidst occasional sightings of opulent cars that could induce awe, Jia couldn't help but ponder about the individuals who possessed such luxurious vehicles. To her surprise, it appeared that individuals like Na Young were among them. With a mischievous grin, Na Young, blaming his asthma, remarked, "I should have driven my other car." Jia, with a touch of irritation, retorted, "Just close the roof." "Wait, you have another car?" Na Young casually revealed, "Yeah, loads, although they are all rented by me." Jia swiftly responded, "Ah, rent. I thought something was up, and here I thought you won the lottery or something." Unfazed, Na Young continued, "I guess you could say that I did win the lottery, though, the lottery called reuniting with you." Jia, overwhelmed by cringe, couldn't help but exclaim, "Ugh, stop with that. How many times have I told you to stop with those super cheesy jokes?" Na Young, ever the joker, suddenly inquired, "Hey, Jia, what's with this formal wear? Did you attend a wedding or something?" Jia explained, "I went for a job interview today, I need money, so I am getting ready to work." Na Young, surprised, questioned, "Didn't you get a bunch of royalties? You used it all up already?" Jia admitted, "I guess you could say I have hit rock bottom." Na Young, with an amused smile, remarked, "So Han Jia has no money, and she needs money for her life expenses, and is willing to work like a dog for it, then." Jia promptly silenced him with a dismissive gesture, signaling him to shut up. Undeterred, Na Young continued to smile, saying, "I didn't say anything, though." However, he sensed Jia's resistance to his unspoken proposition about resuming writing. Swiftly changing the subject, he proposed, "If you need money and a job fast, how does a cafe sound? It's owned by a fairly wealthy acquaintance of mine who runs it as a hobby. There aren't many customers, but the salary is good. Are you interested?" Jia, caught off guard, expressed her confusion, saying, "Sounds fishy. That doesn't make sense. If they don't get many customers, why do they need more employees?" Na Young, undeterred by the logical inconsistency, replied, "So what if it doesn't make sense?" He handed her a card and added, "Giving it a try or giving it up, deciding whether to trust me or not, it's your call. If you're interested, give me a call, and I'll get you an interview date. At least consider it instead of just tossing it in a bin." In the evening, as Jia walked home, she pondered over Na Young's suggestion, realizing that it wasn't a terrible idea, but the thought of owing him again troubled her pride. Suddenly, her attention was captivated by a familiar sight, Jia and Mincheol standing in front of her. He wore the same clothes he had on when visiting her at the hospital. Clearly, he had been waiting for her all this time. Knowing Jia would feel uncomfortable if he waited at the hospital, he chose the roadside where they could walk in together. Spontaneously, Jia rushed towards Jin, embracing him from behind, and exclaimed, "Hey, hey, hey. Did you just get off work? Did the office say anything? Have you had dinner?" Jin remained silent, offering no response. Confused by his lack of words, Jia soon realized that they were in the middle of the street, drawing attention from passers-by. Quickly retracting herself, Jia was taken by surprise as Jin, without a word, enveloped her in a tight hug. Concerned, he inquired, "Jia, why didn't you pick up your phone? You had me worried." Jia explained, "Oh right, I had my phone on silent mode." Jin, still holding her, continued to ask about her well-being, and Jia reassured him, confirming that she was indeed fine. Realizing she had caused Jin worry, Jia heard his whispered words, "Jia, I don't want you to overdo it. You can rely on me for money." His kindness overwhelmed her, and she couldn't bear the thought of seeing his worried face, making her pride seem insignificant in comparison. Looking into Jin's eyes, she firmly stated, "Don't worry, I found a job. Someone I know introduced me to the position and insisted it had to be me, so I had no choice. My slow, unemployed life is finally over. Starting tomorrow, I am going to work." Although Jin was initially concerned for her, seeing Jia's smiling face reassured him. Jia preferred Jin's smiling expression over the worried one. The next day, Jia sat in shock at a coffee table when a voice from in front of her spoke, "So, you are here on time. I was sure you'd come late." It was Yunju, Jia's college friend, standing before her, ready to conduct the interview. The story unfolded as Han Jia, who had been leading a normal life, found herself compelled to reevaluate the importance of labor despite receiving tempting offers from various companies. Struggling to find the right fit, she was eventually scouted by her old boss. As Yeonju carefully perused Jia's resume during the interview, Jia, in her thoughts, couldn't help but curse Na Yang for getting her into this situation. The revelation that the cafe manager Na Yang had recommended was none other than Yeonju caught Jia off guard. Yeonju, sensing Jia's unease, remarked, "What's the matter, Miss Jia? Are you feeling unwell?" Nervously, Jia replied, "No, not at all." Jia found herself in a dilemma, regretting not keeping in touch with Yeonju over the years and now feeling embarrassed about asking for a job. Yeonju, however, smiled and reassured her, "Don't be so stiff, Han Jia. If I wasn't considering employing you, I wouldn't have called you here. Our relationship is like that, right? You don't even dye your hair black despite coming for an interview, you haven't contacted me once in the past few years, and you shamelessly come to me and ask for a job. This is the least I can do for you, can't I?" Jia realized that Yeonju hadn't lost her habit of being straightforward with others. Yeonju's expression suddenly changed as if she had seen a ghost. The word "married" on Jia's resume caught her off guard. She couldn't believe her eyes and checked again, but there it was. She exclaimed, "You are married." Choi Yeonju was the only one in Jia's less-than-stellar university life who provided her with fond memories. At that time, Jia had no clear goals in life. However, observing Yeonju living her life with purpose made Jia think, people who have a goal in their minds sure are cool. Yeonju had achieved significant milestones, with completed novels in the double digits and 3 dramas based on her works aired. She hadn't faced a single slump after her debut, proving that success for a writer was not merely a result of luck but of hard work. Yeonju was a true writer through and through, and now she was about to become Jia's employer. Yeonju stared at Jia, reading the word "married." Jia responded, "Well, it's not that funny." Yeonju, laughing, said, "Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? To think that the girl who spent all night in my room reading web novels got married. No way, I still can't believe it." She teasingly continued, "So your husband is your neighborhood friend, right? How did the topic of marriage come up? Are you two really married?" Jia found herself confused about her own marital status. To prove it, she showed Yeonju a photo with Jin from their honeymoon. However, Yeonju still couldn't believe that Jia was truly married. She continued to playfully tease Jia about her marriage, and their conversation flowed casually, as if they had never stopped meeting at all. Jia didn't remember Yeonju being so sociable before, and she speculated that it might be the power of money that had made her this confident. Eventually, Yeonju accepted Jia for the job. As Jia headed back home, she asked, "Hey, is it really okay to give me employee benefits, including insurance and all, just like that?" Yeonju, exuding an aura of wealth, confidently replied, "Of course, I am the boss, after all." As Jia sat in the car, she smiled and said, "Yeonju, it was nice to see you again." "Thanks." Yeonju listened attentively and then smiled, saying, "No need, just get home safe." When Jin came back home in the evening, he saw Jia dancing happily like a monkey. Perplexed, Jin asked her, "Jia, are you sick or something?" Jia joyfully responded, "Sick my foot. I got a job, it's a success." Yeonju was staring at her in Jia's old photo frame, smiling. She murmured to herself, "Nah, you are thankful, I am the one who should be thankful to you, Jia." Finally, Jin and Jia celebrated Jia's new employment journey. Monday morning arrived before Jia realized it, and Yeonju introduced Jia to her other employees. First up was Lee Si-woo, a 26-year-old considered the ace of Cafe Second. Next was Ju Na-ri, a 25-year-old employee at Cafe Second. To everyone's surprise, she was the same girl from the gym who had tried to make a move on Jia and Mincheol. When Jia's and Ju Na-ri's eyes met, they were both shocked to see each other. Let's take a closer look at Ju Na-ri's life to understand her better. At 25, she may be called a narcissist for saying so, but she has a good style and is undeniably on the pretty side. People often stare and compliment her as she casually walks on the streets. Despite appearing indifferent to the compliments, she actually cares a lot about them. When people learn that she works at Cafe Second, they may not think much of it, but she has taken over the role of the recently retired manager, reaping the benefits that come with being the next manager: money, looks, and prestige. She could have lived the cushy lifestyle she always dreamed of, or at least that was her plan if it weren't for Jia. Ju Na-ri shouted, expressing her disapproval of Jia's appointment as the manager. In reality, if Jia hadn't joined, Lee Si-woo would have been the next manager due to his experience and contributions to the cafe. In response to Ju Na-ri's complaint about Jia's employment, Yun Ju smiled and asserted her authority, saying, I am your employer, and I choose the people I want working at my cafe and use them as I please. I don't think there's a need for further explanation, right? Ju Na-ri couldn't comprehend who Jia really was. She pondered on how Jia, with a handsome husband and a top-tier writer as a friend, managed to impress those around her. Despite Ju Na-ri's decision to apologize, she said, I am deeply sorry about what happened at the gym. At that time, I really didn't know if I knew I. Jia stopped her mid-sentence and said, it's fine, it's all in the past. Let's consider it settled. Jia's response felt cool to Ju Na-ri. However, even though Jia appeared cool, Ju Na-ri refused to accept her as a manager due to her lack of experience in this field. Suddenly, Jia looked at Ju Na-ri and asked, Ms. Na, could you take a look at this for me, about this recipe? Ju Na-ri thought it wasn't necessary for her to handle such matters and mockingly smiled, Manager Han Jia, isn't it embarrassing for a manager not to know this? Jia nonchalantly replied, that's why I am asking. Ju Na-ri's attempts to mock Jia had no effect, so she said, aren't you embarrassed not to know that? Jia smiled and said, it's better to feel embarrassed now than later, since it'd be bad for me not to know this during working hours. Jia pulled Ju Na-ri close and continued, oh right, other than that, I don't quite get the third and fourth ones too. Ju Na-ri was irritated by Jia's unflinching demeanor. Despite finding Jia pretty and her eyes mesmerizing, Ju Na-ri averted her gaze and suggested, I don't know, ask Si Wu Appa instead. Jia was left confused by Ju Na-ri's sudden change in demeanor. Ju Na-ri was visibly annoyed, maintaining a fake smile as an older man flirted with her and asked for her phone number. Despite the man's persistence, Ju Na-ri couldn't openly express her frustration since he was a customer in the cafe. However, Jia intervened, positioning herself between Ju Na-ri and the older man. With a mischievous smile, Jia remarked, oh dear customer, I heard you want her number. If you want it so badly, you should have it. Ju Na-ri couldn't believe what Jia was doing. Jia proceeded to write a number on a piece of paper and handed it to the old man with a smile. When he looked at the note, he found the number 112 written on it. Reading this, he became furious. Undeterred, Jia smiled and provocatively asked, what's wrong, not gonna call it? The old man's angry shouts echoed through the cafe, attracting the attention of everyone present. Jia, however, remained composed and flashed a confident smile. She teasingly questioned, what's the matter? Getting cold feet because I gave you the number? Or should I give that number a call for you? The old man's anger escalated, and he retorted, you rotten, just who do you think I am? Unfazed, Jia adopted a fierce expression and shot back, and just who do you think I am? The old man realized that Jia wasn't someone to be trifled with and promptly bowed down, offering an apologetic smile. Ha ha ha, I apologize for the disturbance. Good luck with the sales. I'll take my leave, he said before making a quick exit. After the old man departed, Jia breathed a sigh of relief. She commented, for goodness sake, he must have gotten the wrong idea just because we treat everyone so nicely. I nearly dropped my professional attitude there. Ju Na-ri expressed her gratitude to Jia, but Jia dismissed it, saying, no need to thank me for something like this. Concerned, Ju Na-ri asked, but are you fine with it? If the boss hears about how you argued with a customer just now or if a strange rumor starts floating around. Jia maintained her carefree demeanor, responding, well, that's the problem for my future self to deal with. It's a pain, isn't it, to worry about something that didn't even happen? Even if a problem does arise, all that matters is being able to take responsibility. Ju Na-ri laughed, saying, that's right, if you just can take the responsibility. Jia, despite being responsible for her actions, seemed to act as she pleased. There were basics in the service occupation that she appeared to overlook. However, when Jia stood up for Ju Na-ri, she exuded a cool confidence, at least according to Ju Na-ri's perspective. Despite this, Ju Na-ri couldn't bring herself to forgive Jia. In her mind, Jia was an enemy who had first stolen a handsome man from her and now occupied the position of manager. Suddenly, a woman named Karen entered the cafe and ordered a hot iced Americano to go. Ju Na-ri tensed up upon seeing Karen because she knew Karen to be a social hazard, the type of customer who terrorizes cafes and causes trouble for not being able to fulfill their requests. Karen wasted no time in complaining about Jia's slow service and criticizing the cafe. Frustrated, Jia managed to control her anger. She promptly presented Karen's order and said, dear customer, your order is ready, the hot Americano you ordered. You can add the amount of ice you want and set it to the temperature you prefer. Please be cautious not to put too much ice, as it will just turn into an iced Americano. Upon hearing Jia's explanation, Karen acknowledged, it does make sense. She walked away from the cafe, stating, you pass. Ju Na-ri was shocked by how Jia handled the customer and found herself unable to come up with such a simple yet effective idea for the past few months. Despite thinking that Jia was doing as she pleased in the cafe, Ju Na-ri couldn't deny that it was entertaining to watch. When customers spoke loudly, Jia made them read the rules, and if they argued with her, she took immediate action and threw them out of the cafe. After sending away troublesome customers, Jia approached Si Woo and said, Mr. Si Woo, bring the salt. We should usually spread salt after chasing off an unwanted person. Si Woo, confused because he heard that saying for the first time in his life, provided Jia with herb salt since they didn't have regular salt in the kitchen. From afar, Ju Na-ri observed everything and thought that if people could have fun just by being near Jia, she also wanted to be friends with her. In the car, someone asked Karen, how was it, director? After seeing her in person. It was Na Young, seated in the car's front seat, who asked that question. Karen nonchalantly replied, her confidence behind every word, the aura leaking out from her mask. She isn't somebody to be satisfied with working at a cafe. Why are you only introducing her to me now? At night, after closing the cafe, Jia expressed her appreciation for everyone's hard work throughout the day. Despite the many challenges she faced, she managed to overcome all the situations without any trouble. The only exception was when Jia noticed a box nearby and said, why don't you come on out? I saw you hiding there for a while now. The man in the box spoke, asking, since when did you know? Jia replied, I knew from the start. Jean revealed himself and said, I thought I was well hidden like this. Jia smiled and teased, oh, you didn't think you'd get caught for real? Jean admitted, yeah, I really didn't think you'd know. He casually pointed to himself and continued, don't I seem completely different from my usual self? I even covered half my face with a hat. Jia laughed, well, it's just that I could tell it was you. If I had to put it into words, it's like you put more care into your look. Jean asked, really, does it suit me? Jia nervously responded, no, it just means your usual style is just that severe. Jia then inquired, what did you come here for anyway? Do you have business here? This place is opposite from home, and it's quite far away from the office and the gym. Jean thought for a moment and couldn't come up with any reason, so he averted his gaze from Jia and said, I have made a new routine. I feel that my sports routine was too repetitive recently, so I thought that maybe some variation could be nice. Rather than using the treadmill in the gym, a new pattern would be nice with a decent distance. Jia teasingly grinned and said, oh, really? What a shame. I thought you were here to take me home and got a bit excited. I see, so it was a new routine that you made. I hope the routine turns out good. Jean had nothing to say, so he just replied, yeah. While walking, suddenly Jia's leg tripped, and she started falling flat on her face. However, she found herself on the cushion of her bed. She was so embarrassed. The reason for that was because when she was about to fall flat on her face on the street, after all the teasing she had done, Jean grabbed her from behind. She definitely heard Jin's shoulder make a weird noise. Something really happened because he looked really unwell earlier at the gym. But Jean had told Jia that he is fine. After a while, Jia opened Jin's room door and asked, hey, Mincheol, are you here? Sorry for intruding. Jean got a little nervous seeing Jia because he was removing his shirt when she walked into his room. Seeing that, Jia got flabbergasted and said, I sincerely apologize for disturbing your alone time. Jia started walking out, saying, don't worry about it. I didn't see anything. I'm going out for a walk, so don't worry about me. Jean stopped Jia and said, what are you saying? What is that supposed to mean? Jean made Jia sit on his gaming chair and explained that he was about to apply a patch on his back because he pulled a muscle from catching Jia. Annoyed, Jia said, in that case, you should have just asked me to do it for you. It must have been hard to do it alone. Jean said, it wasn't really that painful, and it was just within reach for me to stick it on. Jia was shocked hearing that and asked, you were able to do it yourself? What about your back? Jean nonchalantly said, Jia, do you not know the technique for sticking a patch on alone? Saying that, Jean placed a patch on the floor and started rolling on it, showing it to Jia. He said, voila, just like that. Jia irritatingly shouted, neither of them are stuck on properly. Quit acting like a fool and give me the patch, I'll stick it on for you. Jia picked up the patch and started applying it to Jin's back. While applying the patch, Jia thought this is just like when they were young, like when they scratched each other's backs in areas they couldn't reach alone or when they helped each other put medicine on injuries. If anything changed from then, it's Mincheol's back, it became broader. Jia couldn't believe it. What did Jin eat to get this big? Blushing at her thoughts, she slowly touched Jin's back and felt comfort sliding her fingers on it. Jin suddenly called out Jia's name, and she immediately snapped out of the pleasurable thoughts she was having.